second grade. All right, let's get started with this month's art project. It's going to go for this month and next month, so when you finish today, don't throw it out. Don't lose it. Put it in a super safe spot. Tell everyone in your family not to touch it because you will need it again next month. Okay, so our project this month is going to be about the color wheel. That doesn't look very interesting, does it? Well, we're going to make it more interesting. So we're going to take what we know about shapes, because we're becoming shape experts by now, and we're going to combine it with what we're going to learn about color. And we're going to make not this kind of color wheel, but a super creative color wheel. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about the color wheel. The color wheel is actually a map. Maps are so cool. I love maps. Maps give us really important information, help us get places, help us from getting lost, give us direction, right? So a color wheel does the same thing. A color wheel has important information. We can't change the information in the color wheel or it won't give us the right information, just like we can't change the information in a map. So if we were to get lost, if the information was all in a different place in a map, we would be completely lost. And same with the color wheel. So the information on the color wheel has to be in a specific order, and we can use it to make stuff, to learn about stuff, and to find our way to new things. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to, in a moment, pause your video, and I would like you to just simply find a piece of paper. It can be white. You could cut up a piece of a brown paper bag as long as it's blank, or you could use a light colored paper, okay? You're going to also need a pencil, okay? An eraser probably, or a pencil with an eraser, and you're going to need a permanent black marker or a black crayon. I don't think a colored pencil is going to work for this, but something that's not going to smear when you add water or paint. So pause the video in a moment and go and find these things. And just before I sign off, I do want to put it out there that next month I would like to paint. So if you do not have red, yellow, and blue, so those are our primary colors, red, yellow, and blue paints, please send me a message and I will find a way to get you some paints for next month's lesson. So we're going to be talking about the primary colors, putting them in our color wheel, our creative color wheel, and then mixing the colors to make new colors. So you will only need red, yellow, and blue. Of course, I will get you some if you need it. I just need to know who needs the colors and arrange a time for you to pick it up. Okay, so let's get our supplies. Let's come up with some creative ideas for how to make this boring color wheel so much more interesting. So pause the video, go get your supplies, and let's get started. Okay, second grade, for this lesson, we're going to focus on reviewing the element of shape, and we're going to use shapes together to make something look really cool. And we're really going to start talking about color, and we'll continue our discussion of color next month for the finish of this lesson. So we know that shapes can be organic or geometric, and that they are an element of art that is a two-dimensional enclosed space. So that means it's flat and they're made by a line that closes on itself. And we can use simple shapes to combine them to make complex designs. So if you remember from kindergarten, we use simple shapes to make dinosaurs. Why do you think that it's easier to begin with simple shapes when drawing something that's complex? So color, this is a trickier one to define. What even is color? Well, it's just what we see when the light shines on an object. So we see all these colors shining through light onto the ladybug. But only part of that light is being bounced back to our eye. So parts of the light are bounced off the object and the other parts that are absorbed by the object. So the part that bounces back to our eye is the part that we see. So we see red when we see a ladybug because red is what bounces towards our eye, and the rest of the colors are absorbed by the ladybug. So we should be familiar by now with the color wheel, but let's review it since this is our lesson about color wheel. The color wheel is a map of colors. It gives us important information. we can't change the information that's on the map because if we do, we will get lost. So some of the information that we get is the primary colors. The primary colors are never next to each other. There's always a color in between each of the primary colors, and the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Then we have our secondary colors, orange, green, and purple. Gee, that's interesting that orange is in between red and yellow. Isn't it interesting that green is in between yellow and blue? And I wonder why purple is located between blue and red. Could I switch those secondary colors around? No, I cannot. They're there for a reason. Let's find out why in a minute. One last thing is, half of the color wheel is made up of the warm colors and the other half is made up of the cool colors. So we'll remember the warm colors are red, orange, and yellow, and the cool colors are green, blue, and purple. So let's go back to that idea of where the primary colors are, red, yellow, and blue, and why this secondary color has to be right here in between red and yellow. This secondary color has to be right here between blue and yellow. And this one has to be between red and blue. So we have two primary colors here, red and blue, and in between is purple because red plus blue makes purple. Down here we have blue and yellow, and guess what? When we mix them together, it makes green, and green is in between blue and yellow. And over here we have yellow and red, and when you mix those two primary colors together, the one sitting in between, orange, is the one that they make. Well, that makes a whole lot of sense. Wait a minute, is there more I can do with the color wheel? Mrs. TH, I had no idea. Well, if you mix complementary colors, which are opposite each other on the color wheel, it makes brown. So blue and orange mixed together makes brown. Wait a minute. These complementary colors also make brown. Purple and yellow mixed together make brown. And red and green, complementary opposite colors mixed together also make brown. I guess that's why my water is always full of brown. So for this project, we are going to come up with a more creative way to make a color wheel than just a circle. If you look at the first picture, Sophia turned her color wheel into a clock. This student turned their color wheel into a crab. This one turned their color wheel into a flower. And here we have, does that look like a pizza? Wow. Here are some other ideas for what we can make our color wheel into. Is that all? Or do you think we can come up with some even more creative ideas? I bet we can. Before we move on, I just want to remind you, please don't forget to email me if you need paint in the primary colors. Those are red, yellow, and blue before next month's lesson. So if you looked at the pictures that were on the previous screens, students used paints to mix their colors. And this is what we did during remote learning. And I know that some of us might not have paint at home, but I need to know who needs it so I can send it home. You can use watercolors, but it would probably be easier to use tempera or acrylic paint, or even craft paint. So please send me an email if you need it, and we'll have a whole month for me to get it to you, okay? All right, so let's find out what we are going to do to start this project. Okay, so let's get started. For this assignment, you will need a pencil and eraser, and then you will need some sort of black to outline when we're finished, either a crayon or a permanent marker, nothing that's water soluble. So a pen or a washable marker is not going to work. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a color wheel, and then we're going to make it into a more creative color wheel. I am going to talk about it like a pizza, but you do not have to make your color wheel a pizza. Although once I start drawing, you'll see why I keep calling it the pizza. You'll start with a circle, and any kind of a circle that you can draw will be wonderful. If you feel like part of your circle is, not the way that you want it to be, just erase the part that you are not happy with, and then fix that part. However, the circle does not at all have to be perfect. Okay, so we're going to draw a vertical line from the top to the bottom. Remember, vertical is up and down. And then we're going to draw 4 diagonal lines from the center. So find the center, and we're going to go up, and then we're going to go down and down. So you're going to draw your vertical line, a dot for the center, 2 diagonal lines up, and 2 diagonal lines down. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. Notice I did not put a line across the center. And it is okay if all of your pizza slices, all of your little triangles are not exactly the same size. So these two are a little bit bigger. If I was really focused on the size of them, I probably could have made this line out a little bit further. But I'm not going to stress it right now. Okay, so we have 6 pizza slices, and I'm going to label my pizza slices from the very top all the way around in the direction of a clock, which is called clockwise. Here I'm going to put an R lightly for red. Next I'm going to put an O lightly for orange. And then here I'm going to put a Y lightly for yellow. Remember from the slides that the whole side, usually the right side, is warm. So we have the word R-O-Y, Roy, right there. Next to the Y, we're going to put a G for green. Right here in the middle, a B for blue, and up here, a V for violet. Okay, so in between red and yellow should be O for orange, because orange is made by mixing red and yellow, so it's located in between. We're doing a check now. In between blue and yellow should be a G for green, because blue and yellow make green. And in between blue and red should be V for violet, because when you mix blue with red, you find violet. So I want you to think about, what can we turn this boring circle into? Well, what if we turned it into a dinosaur? Okay. You could also turn it into any kind of an animal. So you would add ears or an animal face. The dinosaur, I guess, is also an animal. So I'm going to make mine into a lion. And I'm going to put eyes, a nose, whiskers. All right. What if I made mine into an eye? Tear duct, the eyelid, the pupil. So you could make yours into anything that you want, any kind of an animal. You can turn it into a person. You could make it into anything that you want. You could fill it with interesting patterns. You are the artist, so I want to see how creative you can be when making your color wheel. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And if you really like the idea of the pizza, you can add all your own toppings. How about mushrooms? And there's so many other ideas that I know that you can come up with. When you're all finished, I'd like you to take a marker or a crayon to outline. So we're going to outline our whole thing. Do not outline your letters for your colors because we're going to want to erase them or keep them very light for when we paint. Take a picture, save this for next month, and send me the picture, upload it to the Google Classroom, and let me know if you need paint. Do not lose your paper for next month. Be as creative as you can. I'd love to see things that aren't what we did today. I'd love to see some new and different things. Show me what you would like your color wheel to look like. I can't wait to see what you can come up with.